plutonium or
Look,
uranium?
it is, in my opinion, not interesting. I don't intend to answer it. If you ask me that question on camera, I will shut up. I will sit silent. You're not going to get an answer out of me on that.
Okay. And if I ask you on camera if you know Bob Lazar, can you just say no?
I will sit silently.
Hello again. How is everybody doing? We've got stuff to talk about tonight about old Bobby Lazar, the gift that keeps on giving to ufology. Before we get into that, remember, if you want to help us out, become a channel member. You can become a patron. You can just super chat us some questions. Ollie and I are in the process of redesigning all of the merch. So seeing as how Ollie's in control of the buttons that would turn out, I'm sure he's going to bring up the merch now. So if we're redesigning the merch, you might find that these vanish from the store when we've done that. So if you've ever seen like that, because I think the demon type thing that he's got looks really cool, especially on that grey hoodie. If you want some of these things, then you best buy them now, because we want the whole thing sorted out before we go to America, which is, we will be there in 5 weeks' time, by the way. So if you want one, get one within the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, they might disappear forever. And then we've got something really cool lined up for merchandise I think you're really going to like. I like it. Without further ado, Oliver.
My lad.
How are you doing, mate?
I'm good.
Good. I'm glad.
I'm not as orange.
You're not as orange.
I think I'm fixing the. I had a barbecue tonight.
You look like you've got mildly high blood pressure.
Good.
Mildly high blood pressure, though.
I'll take that.
So we're going to talk about a documentary that's coming out tomorrow. Is this coming out?
I think. Well, we'll ask him. I think I'm going to put it. He might be launching it straight after the show.
Right. Okay.
If that's true, then I will literally. It's ready to go in the description. I haven't put it there at the minute because it's unlisted.
Well, let's ask the man himself. Weaponized ASD. When's the documentary coming out, my friend?
Probably after the show.
I think it's probably a good move. It feels like a good time to do it.
I'll get it ready for you.
How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Good. It's a bit late, but perfectly fine for me. So
yeah. I did. It's like is it 11 o'clock your time, something like that?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Well, mate, we've got alien scientists joining us at some point through the show, so I appreciate you coming on with it being late. But if you need to scoot on out of there after a bit, then don't. Sometimes these things go on for 3 hours.
It's fine. I'm happy to stay.
So what got you interested in UFOs and stuff before you decided to make this documentary?
Yeah, what actually got me interested was Lazar. I used to watch Joe Rogan, and I just saw the infamous, podcast with Lazar, and I decided to look further into it. I didn't have time for a while, but like this year, I had a little bit of time, so I started researching everything I could. It's pretty much in the documentary. One thing I want to mention is that I'm not that interested in UFOs, or at least before. Like before this year, I had absolutely no interest. I think I can thank Hollywood for that, because when I was growing up, it was usually like abducting children and that sort of stuff. You know, giving little children these gigantic syringes. So I really didn't like the topic. Also, for me, like the ETs themselves were too humanoid to take too seriously. But you know, if that's how they look, then I shouldn't be so judgmental, I guess.
Well, before, if it was the Bob Lazar thing that got you into the UFOs as a subject, were you into like other conspiracies and stuff like that beforehand? Because it feels like an odd thing just to sort of flop into if you haven't already got that, you know, the eye on the alternate media.
Yeah, if general conspiracies, then I could say that I had some interest in some historical subjects like the Holocaust, because like 10 years ago, it was a pretty big. So in old YouTube, all of this stuff was pretty open. Everything was live, and you could watch it, and that got me interested. And I actually did a lot of historical research into that stuff, and turns out there's not much to say about that topic, because
we started the conversation before we went live, and you're from Europe.
Yeah, Eastern Europe,
and one thing that we always find on Alien Addict is either a bunch of English dudes, you know, Scottish dudes, Ireland, whatever, Isle of Man, and the Americans. You know, we may have had an Australian on. I'm not sure. Some people think we're Australian, but in Europe, Eastern Europe, we started the conversation, and then we realized we had to go live. Is it a thing there? The whole UFOs, are people fascinated like they are in the States?
And probably not as much. It's not as common, but people are still interested because you have all the documentaries. I mean, not the new ones, not the Netflix one. Those are not translated, but you have National Geographic and whatever, you know, History Channel. So you have a lot of old documentaries, translated documentaries, and there's some interest in the topic.
But is the cases and like legends or myths around where you live, the area that gets people's attention, or is it kind of like, do you not hear about UFO sightings?
If I hear about it, it's usually from English news. So I see the name of my country on some BBC or something, and there's a UFO in that town that I know. But it's not from the people around me. It's usually somebody picked it up and reported it.
So it's not reported.
Yeah, there's no interest, especially with the war going on. There's not that much. You know, there are other.
Yeah, of course.
Concerns.
Yeah. I find it interesting though that I mean, we've always thought that it's kind of a Western English speaking phenomena not phenomena, but the interest, and obviously with the like if you watch the show, you know my thoughts on this, that I'm not too sure about whether these things are alien or not, but I do think this ramp up of information we're getting about them is really strange. And if you're seeing things from your part of the world where it's like the English-speaking West are using places to say, to sort of ramp up the UFO narrative, and it's not actually coming from those places. That seems really weird to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing when it comes to the phenomena, I can't even say that word. Can you say that word, Lee?
Phenomena.
I cannot say that for Toffee.
It's a real problem for you.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's anywhere else on Earth other than the States and in England. Yeah, a little bit in England, a bit in Australia. That's all we hear about. But so you've pulled out a documentary over quite a few months, but you've literally just been looking at like Bob Lazar documentary after documentary after documentary and seeking out some of the older stuff. And your take on this on Bob Lazar, I would say, is very it's not biased either way. It's you kind of like you show some factual stuff and then you give an you kind of give an opinion, you show you for and against Lazar with this. Is that how you when you did you start with the guy that I played at the beginning of Lee's
Teller.
You start with Teller, the hydrogen bomb guy.
Yeah, I didn't start with him because I didn't even know that he was involved. You know, if you know the Lazar story, then you probably know about Edward Teller, but I didn't know about it. I just saw him in the Bob Lazar tape from 1991. Yeah, 1991, and I started to connect the dots. There are actually a lot of mentions, as you see in the documentary, but even a lot more later on that I didn't put because I just put the most interesting or the most relevant.
Yeah, there was bits that I'd never seen before. There's clips that I've not seen in this documentary that I've never seen, which is interesting. But the about Teller. So, do you think that because I've seen that clip and I've not seen much past that clip? What I played at the beginning of the show. Do you think that him, the guy that's asking about Lazar, and he says, "I will not, give this information out." Do you think he actually knows who Lazar is?
What do you mean? I mean, obviously he knows who Lazar. You mean Teller? You don't know if. So he probably knows who Lazar is. That's why he's acting strange. There's a story. So this is in. So when Lazar went to Los Alamos to work there as a technician, and there was an article about his car, about his jet car. It seems, or Bob stated that he met Teller at that time in 1982, and he saw that Teller was doing some lecture in Los Alamos for there was for Star Wars anyway. At that time, it was still called Star Wars, and Bob saw that he was reading the article that was mentioning his jet car, and they got into a conversation. And that's how they met. And the rest is, and then Bob was working for Los Alamos for a while, then he quit in 85, probably, or these are like, most of this information comes from Bob himself. There's some documents that seems to collaborate this a bit, but generally all of this is like the story part. This is like what we need to verify if it happened or not. But basically the story goes that he quits Los Alamos. Possibly he was working in the weapons division, at the time. And after a few years, he wants to go back to doing science or doing weapons, because it's quite possible that he was... this is something that Joe Rogan talked about, that Bob told him that he worked on some kind of weapon. I actually find
Yeah.
some...
This is
Yep.
this is where Joe Rogan said a few times to other guests,
Yeah.
there's a reason why people don't know his background, this, that, and the other, and you would understand. I'll have to tell you offline. Apparently, the rumor is that he was into something that was really kind of not very nice.
Yeah, because so some of these weapons, I looked into the weapons. They are definitely, they have been working on several banned, internationally banned weapons at Los Alamos at the time. They were also working on beam weapons. Some of them they actually sent into the put them on rockets and put them in the, like, put them on orbit and tested them in space. And now you can find them in museums and stuff. But the interesting thing is that there are other references, like some people say something relevant, but I really don't want to go into that, because that's like a real conspiracy theory, like even more than the aliens. Like it's you would not realize how deep those. It was like 2 or 3 years between 82 and 85, and if we believe what Bob claims in his autobiography, then at the same time he was working on these weapons, he was also going to MIT to learn the physics that he needed for these weapons. And that's probably, if he got his master's degrees from MIT, that's when he got it. And after he finished the weapons, and this is one interesting thing, because Teller also worked on the hydrogen bomb, right? There's like a connection here, like both of them are working on these horrible weapons and know each other. So what Bob claims is that Teller helped him get the job at S4, and that's the main reason he got the job. And if it's true that Bob was working on these weapons, then you can understand that there's some kind of kinship between them.
I think what always confused me with Bob Lazar is usually when when you get a whistleblower comes forward for something, usually you'll find something else or someone else comes out afterwards. It's odd we've never had like another Bob Lazar.
Yeah, there are many reasons. It's so after Bob came out, everything went, if you have this kind of secret, which is like the secret among secrets, right? And there's like an infinite amount of money to keep this secret under wraps, then they will meet with everyone, they will call everyone and tell them to shut up. They will go to any lengths, except, like, for example, they will not kill someone. I don't think they would go that far. I see no evidence that ever happened, but anything else is fine, I think. And George,
do you not think that though that if that was real, they would go to the lengths of killing someone?
If the person was in the program and signed some kind of contract saying that he will shut up, and he breaks that promise, then to prevent the information from getting out, then they might do it. But if it's like, someone, if it's like a journalist, I don't think they would go that far. And for example, George Knapp told the story many times that there were actually other people that came forward to talk to him, but would later on, say I changed my mind. And
It's always a good way, though, isn't it? It's always a good way to back up what you're saying. If you were to turn around and say, "Oh, and I actually had another 17 people that wanted to say this, but they're too scared to say it, but they're real." It's a good way just to back yourself up. See the thing with like the Tsar goes for me, like, because I went through a stage of being really interested in the Kennedy assassination, and I believe the people that are keeping keeping these secrets are the same people, or essentially the same people that would assassinate a sitting president. So that's in that situation. I don't know why you wouldn't assassinate a Bob Lazar if they were an actual menace.
Yeah, but what if they don't? What if they just want you to think that they would do that? Right? What if they just want you to believe that they would even kill a president? So you better shut up, because we already killed like a president, so we can kill you for sure. There are some constitutional boundaries, I believe, in the USA about killing, Americans, American civilians, and I don't think that they can like without a legal procedure before that. So I don't think they can just nullify that. I think they are still open. If they are, I mean, all of these we are guessing, but if they are operating, and the only way they can make people cooperate, like inside their own group, is if they are still bound by some rules, by some laws, like the Constitution, for example. So they have some kind of presidential order that gets signed every time, or every 10 years, 20 years or something, but they will not break the rule of law unless it's absolutely necessary.
I am enthused by your faith and lack of corruption in the West.
No, but think about it. Like, if they didn't do that, then people would talk, for sure. I don't think that.
You mean if the threats weren't there, they would talk?
No. I mean, like, in the group, like, these people are like the management or everything. These are generally very highly educated, very patriotic. Like, they got the position for a reason. Like, they are really experts for that job. And if they believed, right, if they didn't believe that this was the right thing to do, I think, then they wouldn't do it. Right? They believe in the cause, but if you didn't put limitations on this, it's like the CIA or any kind of powerful organization. If you didn't put boundaries on what this powerful organization can do, then people inside will probably do something eventually. Like, for example, in the Soviet Union, you had all the time people would just leave, right? From the highest, generals and secret agency, they would just leave because they didn't have that kind of moral. They didn't feel that what they were doing was moral, and they just didn't care.
I think that could work two ways. I think it could, that sort of allegiance and like nationalism. You will either have that where you have to feel that you are on the right side of history with things, to keep yourself in that position, but as well, people that are in that sort of patriotic mold, I think, could do some pretty horrendous things and explain themselves away by saying, "Oh, but I had to do that. I had to do it because it was what was right at the time." And I don't. That's if you're talking about the weaponry like Bob Lazar, or and the advantage back engineering alien technology would give a country. I just find it hard to believe that they wouldn't have just from the minute he came off, from the minute that his first interview with his face blanked out, because his face was blanked out. But let's be perfectly honest, all those people that worked with him at S4, if he worked at S4 and the people that employed him, they'd have seen that silhouette interview and gone, "That's Bob, get him." And it's the he would have found himself locked up in a cell with no windows, explaining why he was speaking to George Knapp about like the US secret weaponry.
You're talking about told Dennis.
Well, yeah, sorry, told Dennis.
Yeah, but the problem there was that if they do that, they might do more damage than good, right? They might just by incarcerating him, they might make people come out, or more people would believe the story. Also, you have to remember that Bob might have had probably, according to him at least, he had the element 115, right? And that's something you cannot give to anyone. Like, you have to keep that. If that goes out to some, like this, if the Soviet Union would have gotten that, then it would have maybe not the Soviet Union, but if you could have gotten it to, I don't know, Switzerland, some academia, where they would test it and find it that yes, it does produce gravity, then it's game over.
But there is the argument that, like, anybody who has like an idea of physics and what have you, anything to do with the periodic table, could have predicted an element 115. You know, even though we hadn't found it back then, that they could predict it. So what do you make of that? You know, the fact that, you know, Lazar, being a clever man, could have just said, you know, this element 115, and at some point he knows it's going to be discovered.
So what Lazar claimed so that's a totally different argument, but I will answer that. But going back, what Lazar claimed to have was the actual material, like grams of 115, which, and if, right, what he said is that if you bombard it with, I guess, protons, or probably protons, then it would produce gravity and it would bend light and that sort of stuff. So the physical material, they would not allow, they would do anything to keep that a secret. Like, even if it gets lost, if it's lost forever, then it's fine for, you know, the government. In regards to predicting 115, that was predicted earlier, that there was like a stable, like a island of stability. But one of the interesting things, I don't think, it's not in this video, but maybe I will put it in the next video, is that the predicted atomic mass of the most likely isotope is 291, and we are currently at 290. So we are one neutron away from the island of stability, according to the current and like 30 years of. So this is like standard science for the last 30 years, is that the island of stability is probably at 291. So we are not there yet. And it's interesting to think that if that is a real, like, if that isotope will be stable, then everything changes, and we are like one neutron away. I mean, we don't know if it's going to be stable, like completely stable, because it can be higher than 291. The prediction is that it's either 291 or above.
See, that sort of stuff just goes way over my head.
It's
and probably Lee's, actually.
Is it? But for him, a little bit. But for him to have some of that would have to be stable anyway, wouldn't it? They would have to. They'd have had to already have
absolutely.
made
It has to be. If he has something, it would have to be stable.
I mean, if he did, it would be a good. It would be a good dead man switch. You know, if he has that stashed somewhere, it is. You know, it's you can't have a much better safety net to stop yourself being Kennedy than that.
Yeah, we actually have like people. So I put in the video that there's according, like, we are always saying what the story is. Like we can neither confirm or deny all of this, but I think it's important to get the story right. And in the story, there are 3 pieces of element 115, because a lot of people think that there's one and make all kinds of theories about all kinds of comments that people made. And
the little
all of
triangle
that,
thing.
Yeah, that's the one used in the reactor, right? You have to make it into a triangle. The way so originally it was supposed to be a cylinder. That's what they had to cut out a triangle from, or cut into, so they get a triangle. But the point is that Bob allegedly had 3 pieces of 115, and there are actually, we probably know where each of those went. We don't know the exact location, but one of them got stolen. One of them was, well, not necessarily stolen, but taken to, first stolen and hidden in some kind of place where Bob can't access it. So I'm guessing like some kind of military base. And the third part is that, or the third piece is what Bob still has, which was put in concrete. That's all we know, that it's in some kind of concrete. And
Who said that?
that
Who
was Gene Huff, and I think John Lear was also there. So, and the people
What they
who
said
knew,
that Bob put it in concrete.
Yeah, Gene Huff was, I mean, one of those. So he said, I think that was an email. Gene Huff put it in an email that it's in concrete. So he said that it's not private hands, but rather in private concrete. And there's also like one, we have an audio file where he says this piece got here, this piece went here, and the third piece is the one they still have.
So when you started the documentary out, I noticed like you kind of like speaking from the things that you found most intriguing and that, you know, opened up your imagination for, you know what, this is really, really interesting. But then you find that you found some errors. What was the first one that was the big one for you when you were looking into the Bob Lazar case?
Well, I guess the biggest one would be the stuff about his education. The fact that it seems that, well, one of the things is that a lot of people seem to believe in like the police reports, like a bunch of documents, and they deny the education part, but they believe like the story part, that the dates are correct, that the name of the master's degree is correct. And I just don't see that there's any basis for that. And so it feels like that a lot of people who were researching the material were like, they were chasing ghosts, right? They were interested in where Lazar didn't go, where Lazar didn't, where he didn't work, where he didn't study. Because what I saw is that we knew where he went to high school, and we knew that he went to Pierce College after high school. So, and after that it was like dark. And I did some checking around that as well. It's not in the documentary, like Caltech and that sort of stuff. There's a story there as well. But my main focus was Pierce Junior College because there are no primary sources for Pierce College. Everything comes from what's his name, the ufologist who is a nuclear physicist.
Stanton Friedman.
Yeah, everything came from Stanton Friedman. So, and by doing that, he became like a secondary source. Like he no longer was a primary source, and everyone just assumed that. Well, what he said was correct, but he didn't. It seems that he didn't say everything that Pierce said or might have said. We don't know, right? We don't know if, but it was not the full story for sure.
But so the big loophole there for you was his education. Do you think that it would be easy for, well, nothing's probably easy in that field, but do you think it's possible that his whole education could have been covered up, all of it? There's because one of my main things with that is like when somebody gets they graduate or whatever, there's pictures, but there's nothing of Lazar. No
well,
pictures.
you have to consider a few things regarding that. First of all, he might not have an undergraduate degree. No one ever mentioned that he ever had. No one reliable, right? And it's, as I said in the documentary, it's perfectly plausible. And most of the pictures you would get from when you finish the undergraduate degree. That's where you get most of the picture. That's where you go into the yearbook. That's where everything happens. We might have something from Caltech, but all of those, if you can reach the students, right? If you can ask Lazar to help you out, so that he can live his life, then you can probably get some help, from Caltech. You can just gather everyone and just agree that they will not disclose this information, because if they do, then Lazar will go to prison. Right?
But that's the kind of the big thing for me. And the education, to start off with me was not the big thing, because I thought, well, you know what, they could definitely cover that up. It's the government. They can do what they want. Well, the government, the underground government or whatever, they can do whatever they want. If they want to cover a guy's education up, they can do. However, if he went there and he studied all these courses with all these intelligent people, I would think that there'd be one of those people who would be a bit of a nerd and kind of into UFOs and all that jazz, that may see Bob Lazar's name popping up now and go, oh, I'll come forward and say that I knew him. They're not going to get killed for that, 'cause Bob's still alive.
Yeah, for sure they are. Like, their life is probably not in danger. I would...
But not one has come forward. That's, I want to believe this story. Don't get me wrong. I want to believe it.
If they would come forward, then this is a ethical dilemma. If they come forward, then Lazar goes to prison, right? So they would come forward to help Bob, right? To collaborate his story. But if they do it and they succeed, then they are actually hurting him, right? Because it's his education that, and if he asked them to keep shut, and you also, there would be some consequences other than simply Bob would go to prison. Like there would probably some drawbacks from the government as well.
The only thing that came into my head then, think about this, was if you look at the sort of modern history of whistleblowers just in the immediate past, You have Edward Snowden, which came out about the prison program, and promptly had to hightail it to Russia. We are still torturing Julian Assange for what appears to be no valid reason. And all he did was give whistleblowers a place to give information to. Then there was I forgot his name. Is it Seth Rich? That was like killed himself by shooting himself twice in the back of the head. He
I don't
came
know.
forward. I can't remember what the there was. Yeah, there was another whistleblower. I can't remember. Someone in the chat will help me out with that. So that's the thing. I just don't believe. Don't get me wrong. This is not me saying I don't believe Bob's story, because I think it's equally credible that maybe Bob is telling the truth, or at least he's telling the truth as he believes the truth is, and essentially his job is to go out there and spread this information, and he doesn't even realize that.
Yeah, but I think so. The question is, what is the disinformation? Like, what's the extent of the disinformation? Is it just his school record, or is it more? And there are some. So you have the, like, if it would be everything, right? Like everything then the whole story would collapse, and then you would not understand why Edward Teller would react in any way, right? Why he would not answer some simple questions for years, right? If there's no story, if the whole story collapses because Bob is just disinformation agent for the whole thing, like everything is a lie, then why would you compromise the guy who made the hydrogen bomb? I think I put that argument in the movie, that it's a bit too much.
Yeah,
right?
I have to say that when I saw Edward Teller get asked about Bob Lazar and his back went up against the wall, that because I'll be honest with you, I've been up and down with the Bob Lazar thing. You know, I've got lots of both me and Lee have got friends in this community that don't believe a word that's coming out of Bob Lazar's mouth. And we've got friends that absolutely think Bob Lazar is the best thing since sliced bread, as we say in the UK. I'm right there. I really, as the X-Files poster says, I want to believe. I really want to believe Bob. And one thing that's in your documentaries, when you showed Edward Teller talk about Bob Lazar, I did think to myself, well, hang about. How does that guy knew Bob Lazar? Either he knew Bob Lazar, or the guy just threw a name out and he just said, I'm not talking about that, because he didn't even acknowledge it. You know, because I don't know the contents of that original documentary beforehand, before that clip. As the
Yeah, that's like, I don't think so. It's never released. We only have that segment. Some people saw it and said it's really interesting, like the part before and after. But that's all I know, that there's some stuff happening there.
Oh, so that was the only bit that you could get as well.
Yeah, I know some people saw the full, like I could find out who made, like I put the name of the who made the like this, who made the clip, right? The name of the, like, it's inside the report. It was like a series, like those were like, they were not great documentaries. They were very controversial at the time. So, but they were the ones.
That's interesting, though, that documentaries disappeared, because if there's like, obviously the when was that documentary made?
It would have been 1990.
So we're still always
but
we're
it,
pretty
I,
good internet days, but we're not quite high speed internet days, are we? Where we were like streaming long
Yeah.
films and stuff like that.
yeah,
But-
yeah. I
but-
don't know if so. So it didn't. I don't know if it aired.
Mm.
I don't think it did, and
I've
that's
just
why we only.
quickly play the little clip just for anybody who's just joined. 80 people in the chat. That's brilliant, guys. Get them thumbs up. Thank
And
you for all the
super
new
chat.
subscribe and all the new subscribers. Awesomeness.
Plutonium or
Look,
uranium?
it is, in my opinion, not interesting. I don't intend to answer it. If you ask me that question on camera, I will shut up. I will sit silent. You're not going to get an answer out of me on that.
Okay. And if I ask you on camera if you know Bob Lazar, can you just say no?
I will sit silently.
So that's a weird answer, isn't it?
Yeah, but also remember that people have written to Teller after that, yeah, and probably even before, because somebody mentioned it before, right? That's why. So he got outed, let's say, as I go into that in the documentary. So somebody mentioned it on radio, and that's why Insider Report went and talked to Teller and recorded this whole thing. But I don't think that it aired. This episode, I don't think that it aired, because then we would
really want to see the full
Me too.
documentary of that.
Yeah, I know people who talked about it that they cannot, disclose it, and that's all they say. Like, they say it's really interesting, and they cannot,
Do you know what I think will probably have that, Lee? Dark Sky Files.
If it aired.
If it aired, he will have it, because that man has got pretty much every UFO documentary
I think they
on Earth.
I think they took that segment, or maybe they took the whole thing and sent it to Lazar so that he would have it, and then he put it in his 1991 Lazar tape. But the other thing you need to remember is that people have sent letters to Teller, right? John Andrews sent several letters, and even there, Teller never responded, right? He never said, I didn't know, or he was just some technician at Los Alamos. He never responded to any of these letters, and the letters disappeared, of course. But from the Teller archive, we have some of the Teller's secretary responded to one of them, saying that Teller is sick and he cannot respond, and something like that. And that's why we know, because it has the stamp, the signature of the secretary. So we know that the original letters existed and disappeared, which is a bit annoying.
So people were trying to confirm.
I tried to confirm. I tried to. I contacted the archive, and I asked them not just once, but to get the boxes, find this letter, because we have the exact date, right? Because in the response you have the exact date when it was received. So if it was there, we would have find it, and it's just not there. And that's I feel like that's kind of the that kind of happens all several times in the documentary, like something that should be there, but just that one thing is missing, right?
Mm-hmm. So I did what you originally did when you got into this, and I watched the Joe Rogan podcast again today, and there's one thing I did notice that I didn't. I don't know if I'd forgotten about it. I'd definitely not forgotten about the migraine, because everybody makes a joke about the migraine. So he got a migraine on Joe Rogan when he's getting some hard questions. But I noticed when Joe Rogan started to get technical, when it came to the 115, when it came to how he thought that this may have worked to try and explain some more scientific answers, that's when Bob Lazar started to do this and the headache started to come on. And that is also a massive red flag for me, that because it's not as if the headache was mentioned in the beginning. You know, he seemed that they ka-chinged glasses together, whiskey glasses. They all started drinking whiskey, and then the headache kicks in. Now, he may have said to Joe Rogan beforehand, or Jerry might have said, well, Bob's got a bit of a headache today. So if he's a little bit off now and again, then just, you know, let him off. But it was when the hard questions started happening that the headache started to kick in. Now, some might say, well, that's, yeah, because these guys, you know, he's having to really think about some of the technical shit. How did you feel about that? You know, with the whole migraine thing.
Yeah, I never really took that seriously. Like he could have had a migraine. It's perfectly normal, and like also it would, if you had to tell something really technical in a way that is not technical, you would probably also have a headache. What I actually later found interesting is that when it came to the talk about Lazar's classmates, and Jeremy Colbert tried to say something, and Joe Rogan just cuts him off. Right? He just cuts him off, and he can't even finish it, right? And we don't even have the word that he was trying to say. And I'm pretty sure that they talked beforehand. I'm pretty sure that they told Joe Rogan that what kind of questions he can ask. But
nobody tells Joe Rogan what he can and can't ask.
Bob Lazar can. I'm pretty sure if he wants Bob Lazar on, and he really did want, then I'm pretty sure that he would.
If it comes to something that's like would get him into a lot of shit, maybe.
Don't forget, Ollie. He sat there for 2 hours talking to Macaulay Culkin and didn't talk about Michael Jackson once.
That is true. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I remember one of these live streams you had move on or said that there was actually some couching going on before the like they did talk to Joe Rogan what he can ask, but I think they also told him what he should ask. Like he should ask about the education, but like do it at the end and have one question and don't continue, right? Just one question, and it's just agree to the answer and forget about the whole thing.
See, I'm interested in like I want to know what the proof is. Like what did Rogan? You know, we spoke about before when Rogan had a different guest on, and he said he knows something. You know, he was asked off. You know, he said I can tell you what it is off air, but I can't tell you what it is on air. Why I believe Bob Lazar.
I mean, he was talking about the weapons project that Lazar allegedly did in Los Alamos from early 83 to 85.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can guess. Like you can totally guess if you read everything that his colleagues talked about, and if you know what Lazar, like what kind of stuff Lazar, like what his background, like his interest and that stuff, you can totally guess. I think you can guess, and what sort of weapons they were actually working on at that time. And you can this is what I did. I checked what weapons are banned, what were banned at that time, and you can kind of figure it out. But I just don't want to say.
I mean,
You can-
it's fine. You can say it. You know.
no, you trust me, you cannot say this. I really don't
You're not
want
allowed
to.
to say it on YouTube.
No, I don't want to say this ever to anyone. But I'm just saying, if you're really interested, you can figure it out. There's actually a reasonable amount of evidence, but you wouldn't be able to prove it.
Hmm.
But there's like somebody said something like a half a sentence here and another half a sentence there, and they all like go in the same direction. There's also like you might be able to find some articles like rumors at that time that were going on, but nothing concrete.
Why the name? The Lazar Deception.
Because it is a deception. So there is a deception that Lazar himself created to save his ass, I think. That's really what the documentary is about. It's this hypothesis that he made a deal with the government so that they would stop harassing him, so that they wouldn't prosecute him ever if he helped them kill this story by talking to his former classmates, by misinforming people in the UFO research community, by giving them fake information about where he went for his master's degrees. And that's the deception. So that's why it's the Lazar Deception, because that's a very simple, I think that's a very simple disinformation campaign. I can believe that. If that's all that the disinformation is, I can see that, because similar disinformation campaigns have been done. It's usually very simple. It has a simple goal. It's easy to do. It's not a big deal. So that's kind of where the name comes. I had an argument, to compare it with like other hypotheses, like other theories, because this hypothesis doesn't make many claims. Like, you cannot prove it, but most of the hypotheses, like whether you believe in Lazar, whether you don't believe, none of it is provable. But you can still compare them. Like, for example, if you don't believe Lazar, you have to explain why John Lear saw a disc-shaped object through a telescope, like at a certain date, when Lazar told them that it would be there. Like why it was disc-shaped, and this was through a telescope, right? Not binoculars. This was a telescope, and John Lear was a pilot. So you would think that he can tell the difference between an airplane and something else. Also, I checked. This is not in the documentary, but I checked when the Janet flights went. I mean, all the data that we have, the Janet flights, and they never go there at that time. So I don't know why people think that those are like severed, like airplanes, because they just don't go. They don't fly at that time. But so that's one of that. But there's like a whole set of statements, like Jim Tagliani, who said that he saw Bob going to Caltech in 81. You have, again, John Lear, who said that he saw Bob's master's degrees for both Caltech and MIT. And John Lear is an interesting person. He said all kinds of strange stuff about UFOs, but what I found about him interesting is that about his own experience, he never lied. He always said, I never saw an ET, never saw documents, never saw UFOs, except that one time when he went with Bob and his friends to see that, like maybe 2 times, but he never lied about his own experience. He he was like a naive guy. Like people told him stories about UFOs, and he would give that information to George Knapp. But when it came to his own experience, like he didn't ever lie about that. And the same thing can be said about other people. Like these people, they seem to only lie when it comes to this story and never else, never any other time. And that's like, those are like, you have to assume that they are lying about these things if you're like a denier, if you're going with that hypothesis, if you're saying that Bob Lazar is and all these people around him are not telling the truth. But if you go with my hypothesis, like, which is much more simple, you have one guy telling one lie, and that lie is expanded, but it's still just one lie, right? You also have, like, I can mention Joe Vanietti and George Knapp, who reported about like all the kind of psychological torture that was going on, like the gun in the car, like all the kinds of. Also, you have John Lear said that they were wiretapping his phone. Same with George Knapp, wiretapping his phone. All of these people would have to. You have to believe that these people are lying.
Have you ever considered that they all could be just working together?
Yeah, but you have
like
to.
The big plan all along was to do this.
Yeah, I considered, but you have to find motivation, a clear motivation. Also, like John Lear, like I have, like, as I said, I have worked some historical stuff on conspiracy theories, and a lot of people who would lie, would make these kinds of lie and work together to make this lie, and a lot of them would come out eventually. And John Lear never came out. He's dead. Even he said the same thing until his last moment. And why? Did he sell books? Did he sell anything? Like,
I mean, he did use it to stay relevant in the whole field. So I'm going to guess he made some money from it at some point.
Yeah, maybe, for sure. But is that his motivation? Is that
maybe not?
And
the reason I would think he wouldn't come out about it, because maybe it's just not important enough. You know, like he doesn't believe it's important enough for him to do like a deathbed confession. But also, if he was working with Lazar and Knapp, and that was like, you know, he was part of the fabric of what the mythos of the story was. Why would he throw his friends under the bus? You know, if they were also compatriots in this together.
Yeah, but yeah, sure, that could happen. But I feel like the more people you have in this conspiracy, the less likely that it would work out. And like, these people don't have this kind of. There's no evidence that any of these people would do this or have done this before. They don't have that kind of background. Like, two of these, like the Lazar's friends from the before Gene Huff and before John Deere, like Jim Tagliani and Joe Vanietti. Joe Vanietti he worked in Los Alamos. Jim Tagliani, he worked on, I think, Area 52 or something. Like, he was. So both of these guys had Q clearances. Like, these are generally, you would think that these are trustworthy people. George Knapp used to report on the mafia and stuff like that. Like, yeah. I understand that everyone can lie, but at some point it feels like a bit forced to believe that. No.
I was just going to say, I think with the Knapp thing, if it was, because really, I'm not necessarily here like trying to debunk anything or something like that. I just find it interesting, and I'm kind of on the I'm on the middle ground with the Lazar thing, and I have to try and like cling to the middle ground as well, because I really want to believe it. You know, I want to believe it 100%, because if it was true, it's it's the greatest modern like folk story, of all time. It's great. The nap thing, I can explain to myself with that, if he went into that believing like 100%, and he, like you say, it's like he was a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. If he was so invested in Lazar, I can see why he couldn't pull out. He would just be like, I mean, I don't know if you watched what we did with Michael Horn the other day. I think he's another perfect example of that, where it's somebody that's like knee deep in bullshit, but he's too invested. He's done it for too long. So
Michael's so invested.
Yeah, like he can't. He's calling that bullshit wine, because he can't accept that it's not real.
He's Billy's right hand man.
Yeah,
Right.
but it's if I could see how Knapp could end himself up in that situation if he invested so much of his time and life into something that he just wouldn't even, he would get to a point where he wouldn't even analyze it critically. He would just whatever was there, we just roll forward with it.
I literally, like, when it comes to the Billy Meier stuff, I never did think about Lazar until I was looking into the Billy Meier case. Have you Weaponized? Have you looked into the Billy Myers case?
Just a little bit. I saw the streams you had.
Yeah. Did you see this? Let me just bring it up. Did you ever come across this clip?
It looked like, if anyone's familiar with Billy Myers sightings, very astonishingly similar to that craft. It was a very sleek, thin-looking, flying saucer-shaped craft.
Yeah, I don't remember if I saw it before, but I know that he made, even like a few years ago, Bob would make comments that it looked like the Billy Meier UFOs, and what kind of coincidence it would be if those were fake, and like he just can't believe it. That's a weird case, the Billy Meier. I wonder what the first, like I think the first photo that was published was like from really far away. It was like a cover of a book. That's one thing with historical. Sorry, I cannot hear you.
It ended up being on loads of books.
Yeah, I just know that it was on, but it was not the close up sports model, but it was far away, and I wonder if those are actually the same objects, even if they are.
Well, if they are the same objects, then they are fake.
Yeah, for probably.
So if Bob Lazar.
No. I mean, if the, I mean, that's, I would say there might be some other explanation, but if it looks exactly the same, then yeah. But what I'm saying is the one in the close-up and in the distance the same? That's what I'm curious about. Like, are those the same fake objects? I always wonder whether Billy Meier actually saw something and he just reconstructed what he saw, because I'm not sure if he would be able to take, if he saw something, he would not be able to take a photograph of it if it was moving. Like maybe he did, maybe it didn't, but for sure he didn't it was not like 5 meters or 10 meters away. Like that's not possible.
No, those photographs are crazy. They're crazy, and people that believe those photographs are crazy, I think. Like we said in the show the other day, it's a shame we didn't just stop at the silver disc ones. At the silver disc ones that are hanging over the valley, people would still be going, oh, is it real? Isn't it real? But the minute you get a cake tin on a bin and stick it in front of your house, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I never do any kind of analysis on pictures, on videos, on anything, because I don't see any. I'm not qualified, and I wouldn't, even if I could. Yeah, that's an UFO, and so what's the point? For me, it wouldn't make any. It wouldn't. I wouldn't be interested even if I could prove that it was, and I still cannot hear you, Oli.
I'm just gonna say, if you do another documentary and you're showing UFOs, it's always good to have somebody that does an analysis on the UFOs, because there's so many fake ones out there. But that's the thing with the Bob Lazar story. There's only that there's a couple that were filmed out in the desert. Those, you can't. All you can see is lights. You can't really debunk them because there's nothing to debunk. You could just see a solid light. But again, going back to what you said, I will agree, and I'd 100% give you that, Bob Lazar said that these would be there at a certain time, and lo and behold, they were there. But the argument is, were they all in on it?
Yeah, but you would not be able to know if they were. But if you're like, that's like an argument against their character. Like they would do this stuff. I mean, yes, John Lear knew Bob and Bob knew John Lear, but it was like they have been known each other for 2 years, and
that's what we were told.
I mean, yeah, that's what. But you're making assumptions, and you're making.
But you have to. You definitely have to in this game.
Yeah, but how many assumptions are you willing to make?
All of them.
Yeah, you have to. If you believe that everything was fake, that it was like this cabal of liars, then you have to make a lot of assumptions from a lot of people, and some of those people have top secret clearances.
But isn't it almost the same to assume that their character is such that they wouldn't lie? Isn't that just the same leap as assuming they would? It's just it's the same leap in a different direction.
Like most people, most of the time will not lie. Even liars don't lie most of the time. Like there's just no reason. Like that's not how people lie. They always lie about a few key subjects that they wish to lie. If you look at lies in history, what they would lie about, when they would lie about, it's always just a select few lies, and it's usually for a simple reason, to save their own ass or to make a lot of money that one time, and it's usually not this many people. You have to have a really good reason to have this many people for this period of time to not fess up. I feel like there's generally there's a simple answer to this question, is that they are just not lying. Most of these people, at least. That's the other way I would look at it, is that I really don't care. Like I neither believe Bob Lazar, neither disbelieve. What I see is that there's
that's what I got from the documentary. I was kind of going to ask you that at the end of the show. Do you believe him? Because watching the whole documentary, it is unbiased. You don't say if you believe him or not. But
yeah, what I would say is that it's a bit hard to say, but when Stanton Friedman was asked about what was the original UFO case, it was from 47,
Oh, you told
Roswell or Betty Bryan.
Yeah, Roswell. When he was asked about Roswell, like, what's the proof for Roswell? Like everyone, you could say the same thing about you're saying about what people are saying about Bob, that everyone could be a liar in that case as well. But what Stanton said is that there was
also Betty and Barney Hill as well. You know, he did a lot of work on that.
Yeah, but in regards to like the 47 case, is that he said that there was a government cover-up, right? And he could find proof of that cover-up. And if people would be lying, then it wouldn't make sense to see that government cover-up. Like that's the cover-up itself is proof. And in the Bob Lazar case, I see some proof of a cover-up, not necessarily the best proof. I mean, we can check it if you want, but I can, we have documents where you can see that people are lying, like the Los Alamos is factually lying about something. We can know that now because some people did some research last year that I think we can confidently say that Los Alamos did lie in writing about this one thing. So if there's a government cover-up and there's a little bit of evidence, then I think, and we have Teller as well, right? Which also feels like a government cover-up. Also, we have Bob messing up his own education record, which also fits into this cover-up. So there's some evidence, and if I feel like that makes me believe that there's something there, at least on an emotional level. On a rational level, if I'm going for rational, I would say that there's enough evidence to continue this research. Like, I don't want to accept it, I don't want to deny it, but there's enough. Like, I could not find anything. If I looked not superficially, but I looked it very deeply, then I could not find something that I could deny what Bob Lazar said.
I must admit, on the education front, because I know lots of people pull the education thing up. That's one of the things that personally I'm happier to explain away, because if you have somebody that's going to go and work on like experimental technology, like so exotic as crashed UFO technology, I would imagine that those people that sign up to that would be like wiped, for all intents and purposes. I don't see why that's difficult to believe, that the records of, I'm surprised the records are there. If he did it, I'm surprised the records are there from where he went to primary school. We have people that go to court to testify against gangsters and stuff like that, and we make those people disappear. We give them new identities and stick them in a different country so they can testify. I 100% believe we would do that with scientists if they were going to do something like this. That would just make sense to me.
Yeah, I think probably one of the reason why anyone would hire Bob for that kind of job is because you could wipe his record. He didn't write any papers. He didn't have any he wasn't in a yearbook. He didn't have, and he was in, like, the most time he spent in the same school was 2 years, right? A lot of people would have forgotten him. So I feel like that was one of the reasons he was hired, if he was hired, of course. And yeah, and for sure you could remove everything that was not in someone's private hands, right? If you had 50 students who had 50 students who had the same yearbook with his picture on it, you cannot remove that. Or that would be extremely difficult, especially because you have all these different, like you have economics, and you would not go to the economics students to get their yearbooks to get rid of Lazar. So that would not be feasible. But if he wasn't in the yearbook to begin with, then he was like the greatest candidate for this. Also, he was young. I feel like any kind of education he would have required, he could have gotten it after he was employed.
Yeah, even down to the like the brothel owning and stuff like that. You know, it's it would make sense to have people that were intelligent enough to do the job, but compromised.
I get that. I do, because people always bring up the brothel thing, and I think, well, actually, no, that's the opposite. You know,
Yeah.
that is a good guy to have. That's got some he's got some shit in his closet that he didn't want to get out.
Yeah, I think they just didn't care about the brothel or wouldn't care about it. I mean,
The thing is, with a lot of the debunkers, though, that taught that well, you can't really debunk the Bob Lazar case. You can pull it apart. You can take the pieces away and see what you have left. If there's anything there that you can hold on to say this story still is strong. But there's nobody who can say 100%. You know, I don't know if Jeremy can join us tonight or not, but he said he'll try and join us. Even Jeremy has said that, you know, he wants to believe the story, and you know, he got into ufology because of Bob Lazar, which is kind of what you've done. Weaponized, you've got.
Yeah, I mean, that was the reason, but I don't want it to be true. I'm perfectly fine with it being false. I just like this is a question that I want an answer for.
So, would you say that for where you are at the moment, in researching it, because it sounds like you believe it from where you are right now?
Yeah, I mean, you have to consider what I talk about in the documentary at the ending, and because that was the most surprising, is that when I went to Pierce College, which it seems nobody else did, but when I went to there, they would just give me all these kinds of small information that would make, like, that could have gone either way. Like that could have affected me positively, or the story positively or negatively. And the fact that everything that I found seems to, you know, like improve the case for Lazar. Like there are so many places where where that story could have died. There's like at least 10 places where, you know, if that date was one day before, if that teacher would have taught a different class, and it's an interesting thing why he was named, right? That's like that's a conspiracy theory there, right there. But everything, like what Pierce told me, right? Because they sent me an email when I asked them that all of these small things could have any one of these things could have destroyed that story, and the fact that it didn't, like, it just means I have to continue. I feel like I have to move on. But
no, I get that. I see that's my thing with the Lazar thing. I don't know what to think about it, but I don't believe it's just a flight of fantasy, from like one person that decided he wanted to try and like be famous for some strange reason, because it's gone on so long.
Like the motivations don't make sense.
It's
just not there.
In fact, if it's done anything, I mean, I don't know. Someone might be able to smart me up here, but given his line of work, especially with him doing the like United Nuclear thing and selling, you know, things that you need to go through all sorts of regulations to go and sell. it would be easier, surely, for him to do that job if he wasn't Bob Lazar, the crazy UFO guy, and he was just Bob Lazar, the scientist. I feel his day-to-day work would be a lot easier without the UFO stuff.
Yeah, and it makes sense that if he believed that he was about to get killed, then it makes sense that he would go public. But
Yeah,
for
well,
what?
the minute
But
you
is there
public-
any other reason why he would go public? He doesn't seem like the guy who likes that kind of interest in him.
I mean, that makes 100% sense, because if you're going to be killed for your information, then you just give out your information, because at that point, the only reason, let's just say he was in danger of his life because of this story. If he goes and tells it and makes the story public, even if you take away the fact that killing him then would just it would back up the story, but the only reason to kill him out of that would then be malice. Because if you were going to kill him originally because of the story, and the story's already out there, then there's no point in killing him. So it does back it up.
There is a point to prevent others from doing the same. So there is you might do it. So there is a point I think
warning.
but you still you don't want to do it if possible. I think you would want to avoid leaving bodies.
Are you aware of the Eric Weinstein wanting to have a chat with this guy that was on Joe Rogan? So there's not been a response to Eric Weinstein from anybody like on Lazar's side of the tent.
I don't see it happening, because I think Weinstein would need to agree to the same kind of regulations that Joe Rogan agreed to, to not ask specific questions and stuff like that. But on the other hand,
well, yeah, they could go for a meal beforehand, and then
would Eric agree to anything? I don't see him agreeing.
Well, all Lazar has to say though is, "We discussed this. I'm not going to discuss that."
Yeah. One thing I will caveat with the idea of like Rogan having to jump through all the hoops though to get Bob Lazar on. Rogan wanted to interview Bob Lazar. That's 100%. Yeah. But Rogan didn't need to interview Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar, and especially Jeremy Corbell, needed to go on Joe Rogan. Without that podcast, Bob Lazar on the Flying Saucer, the documentary on Netflix, falls on Netflix, probably does okay, and then people instantly forget about it. Because of that podcast, Bob Lazar was thrust back into the spotlight again, and Jeremy Corbell became a celebrity within the field, like a real celebrity.
Yeah, I agree that Jeremy needed Joe Rogan, but Bob didn't. I think he's just like, I feel like that Bob is doing all of this just to keep the story alive, because he believes that it's important enough to keep it alive.
I don't believe he doesn't get any money from the documentary, though. That's one thing.
I mean, he said that he didn't. For sure he got money from the book and the posters and the T-shirts.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time he said that he didn't get any money. At the time he didn't get any money, and so I really don't care either way.
Oh no, it doesn't necessarily debunk something, because because you're getting paid for it. I think right now there's definitely some people I think that are out there, not even just in the UFO world, people that are out there talking about like the the thing that happened over the last couple of years that you can't see on YouTube. I think they're out there doing conferences, and you're paying £15-20 for a ticket to go and listen to Dr. Mahindra. Is it? I can't.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, I can never say his name. I 100% believe that, man, and I think what he's doing, he is doing it because it's for the greater good of everybody. But you've still got to sustain yourself while you're on this virtuous quest.
Yeah, well, if he can make some money, right, he will. And on the side, it's also his legacy. Like I feel like that's why he wrote his biography.
Mm-hmm.
So that once he's dead, we will still have that, and historians can look back and he did say that we just didn't read it like that and stuff like that.
Do you feel like we'll ever know either way? So
I was just going to say that if it is lie, right? If it is just something he's fabricated, and he does keep it going till his death, it would be an awful weight to die with. Like if you've essentially misled a big part of the world, and you don't want to be dying believing in karma if that's true.
Yeah, but I don't get that. I don't see that he's under any weight like that.
No. I think you're right.
Yeah, but I agree. That's what I said about John Lear as well. For him, that would have been a lot of weight.
Lee asked you earlier, and again, you did it's not a biased documentary either way. You just put the stuff out as you'd seen it. Do you, if you had to, how do I put this? Do you believe Bob Lazar? Do you 100% believe him?
Not 100%, but right now I would say that.
Give me a percentage. I like percentages.
51.
50.
51.5.
51% you believe him.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter the percentage.
That's it. The documentary, it's 50-50. The way you've done it, anyways. There is no for or against. You just put it out the way you saw it. But yeah, 51.
Yeah,
I didn't expect that answer.
So that's the whole point of. That's supposed to be what research is like. Is that you can always be proven wrong. I can be wrong. It can, tomorrow the reality can change. So I try not to get attached to any kind of belief or anything like that.
I mean, you said it yourself, you're quite new to the UFO community. Now, we did a video at our live stream last week. The title was "The Flying Saucers Are Dead." Then things don't pop up anymore. We just don't see them. And my argument with it would be, how can we never see flying saucers? With all the modern technology that we have, every man and his dog has a mobile phone. We get lights in the sky, but I don't think I've had one submission to Alien Addict of a flying saucer that I'd go, holy shit, that's amazing. Now, if it's right, if we're going to go down the truth path for Bob Lazar, now, you've been looking into Bob Lazar like for quite a few months, and you've been religiously looking at it every single. Is it like constantly to make this documentary? You've gone,
yeah, like every day, a few hours for sure.
So we've seen no kind of flying saucers of late. Nothing that is real. You know, the rest of it's CGI. Bob Lazar said on the Joe Rogan podcast that he believes those things were from an archaeological dig.
Some
Did he
of
ever?
them.
Did
Some
he
of
ever
them.
say that in any other video that you've watched? Or
I
was that?
can say I try to remember because I wasn't paying attention to that specific. Now I would. So if I hear it, I would say, but I couldn't find any confirmation. But it's possible that he just forgot to mention it anywhere. It happens.
Because that was a new thing that for a lot of the people in the UFO community that said that they were like, I've never heard Lazar say that before. That they were from they were from
He
an
never said it.
archaeological
Other
dig.
people said it, but I don't remember him ever saying it. In I don't think it's in his biography or in articles. I can't recall anything.
It might
like this.
explain why we don't see flying saucers anymore. Maybe the relics, they're old.
Well, what
Who knows?
I think if they functioned and like what Lazar said in his in the 1991 Lazar tape is that there was an exchange program between the ETs and the United States government, and that they gave us the element 115 and some of the saucers, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he said, and it's possible. It's also possible that some crashed and later were found. So an archaeological dig is not, but it's also possible that he misinterpreted what he read. Like,
I mean, I think the idea that the if they weren't crashed and they were recovered probably holds more weight with me because they don't have to be extraterrestrial. Then they could be. If you look at the Hancock's theory of this constant, the Earth going through constant cataclysms and with a
can I just quickly add, Lee, we're getting Hancock's gardener on. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, that's wild. What a crazy turn of events that is. The fact that we could have had civilization to a technical point, maybe beyond where we are, maybe not beyond where we are, but a few times, I kind of prefer the idea that maybe we've found these things. It's I mean, let's face it, there has to be something going on down in Antarctica. There has to be something there in Antarctica which is more important than just keeping penguins safe, because that Antarctic treaty is absolutely bulletproof, and there's no other treaty I can think from international, like an international treaty that's been able to withstand what that's withstood. So I can kind of get on board with the idea that these things might have just been, they could have been thousands of years old. Like unbelievably advanced technology that we've lost through 5 or 6 cataclysms, and then at some point we've found a shiny edge sticking out of the ground somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, the ETs, like all the description of the Greys, the Ebens, or whatever, or even what Bob Lazar said, were extremely humanoid. Just, they have a head, legs, arms, fingers. They have internal organs, eyes in the front, 2 eyes, 2 ears. Everything is like a human.
Is there a clip of Bob Lazar saying what they look like? Because I don't believe Bob Lazar's ever said he's seen one.
There is so he saw, he
I know he saw something when he walked past the door.
No, he got reports, and in one of the reports he saw a dissected alien, according to him, where I don't know if he probably saw its head, but I'm not 100%, but he saw the internal organs, it's hard to say what exactly saw, but
I know you
I
heard
th-
there was from, is it Zeta Reticuli or whatever it's called?
yeah, that's also from a report.
But so in that report he saw.
Yeah, pictures of ETs. I mean, dissected. Like they I don't remember exactly what he said. But
Where is this from? Where is this from? I need
well,
to see.
this is the
I've
same.
never seen
where,
a clip of him saying that, and I need to
this
see that. That's great.
this is the Bob Lazar tape from '91. It's the same tape that you have the Edward
Do me a
Teller
favor,
clip.
send me that link. I want to watch that after the
There's
show.
in the description. There's like a playlist.
Oh right, brilliant. So guys, so the video, the interview is, I hope you don't mind, Weaponized. I've put it up for you, so you can literally just make it thingy after the show finishes. Still unlisted, but I've put it there ready straight away for after the show for people to watch. But you've left all the references from everything that you found.
Yeah, it's in everything is in there.
Right, I need to go looking through some of those references because I need to see that clip where he describes the aliens. Never seen that. Truly, never seen it.
Yeah, some of these videos sometimes get deleted, but I don't think that will be deleted. But the Bob Lazar tape should be there, and it should stay there, I'm guessing. But if not, I have everything downloaded. You know, I have like a playlist, and I'm always watching what disappears. Like I think 4 videos disappeared in 3 months. Usually it's just copyright or something.
I mean, this, for one, this is why we didn't want to play this. I mean, you said play the whole documentary on the show, and we'll do commentary in between. One, the show would have gone on for quite some time, but 2, you've put quite a bit of effort in that. You've put some effort into it, you know, so you deserve for people to go watch it themselves. You know, I the one thing that me and Lee will never do is take the what you call it. What's the words I'm looking for, Lee? Take
Piss.
take the piss. Yeah, we're not going to take the piss. So yeah, I think, you know, you've put some work into it. People should go watch it.
Thanks.
For themselves.
But in some ways, if somebody downloads it and puts it up, that's not necessarily a bad thing for me, because if it ever gets copyright striked, at least there would be a copy from someone else. Like if there was 10,000 people having my video on, then it would be pointless to copyright strike it, because you cannot copy strike 10,000 people.
So when it comes to putting a video like that together, how do you know when to end it when it comes to Bob Lazar? You know, what point for you was that, like, that's the end bit of the video, that's how I'm going to end it? How do you decide that when you're putting together that sort of, like, the story, you're putting together all the jigsaw pieces?
Well, I already have a plan, so I knew what the next video will be. I already have the material. Most of the script is written, so I just knew that the theory, the whole documentary, as you call it. I'm not sure I would call it a documentary, but I guess it's fine. But the question, the central question of Bob Lazar, at least the reason why he's being dismissed, is his education. And that's why I have the education in this video. And also the other part of the video is why that education record is so abysmal, right? That's the other part of the documentary, like the story of how we reached this point. And it makes like one unit. And that's why it's one video. Because even Stanton Friedman said, like, The only reason Stanton Friedman dismissed Bob was the education. It's not anything else. It's just the education. That's it. He never made any argument about anything else ever. About Papoose Lake, the lights, about John Lear, because all of those stuff are they are not concrete. The education is concrete to some extent. The rest is just guessing, like that John Lear, lied about this, lied about that, or somebody else lied about something else, or something looks like something else.
Stanton did have a conversation, I believe, with Bob Lazar over the phone, but you must have seen the Stanton Freeman when he's with Jeremy Corbell, and they have that kind of like basically where Jeremy gets the whole crowd on board, kind of against Stanton.
I watched the beginning. I couldn't finish.
You couldn't finish watching it? Why was that?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, maybe it was just a clip, but I'm pretty sure it was. I don't remember, but it's possible that I was watching the whole thing and I just it was pointless. It felt like they were not arguing anything.
Well, no. I mean, Stanton was arguing his education, and Jeremy Corbell was like basically getting the crowd involved. But
and that's just not interesting for me.
But it's here's the thing though. You might find this interesting. Stanton in that discussion with Corbell said he tried to speak to Lazar that the day before when they were at that conference together, and Lazar had to go. He wouldn't speak to Stanton face to face.
I mean, he had that one phone call, and after that, never. So it's not just that.
As far as I know, they've never had a face to face.
I think that was intentional. Like that was.
Why? Why? If you got nothing to, you've already put your balls like, and
no, it's like
on a plate for everybody to see.
So once you give the misinformation, like you give it to someone else, you don't want to talk to them ever again. Like you don't want them to question you because they might figure it out that they've been used. Right? So it wouldn't make sense for Lazar to talk to Stanton again.
If Lazar's telling the truth, why wouldn't it make sense for Lazar to speak
No,
to
it's
Stanton?
because he's telling the truth. Like he lied about his own education, and he's just, he's trying to protect his daily life. He just wants to keep a low profile, and he wants the feds to be off his back. And to do that, he had to talk to Stanton, right? I think. Like that. I think that's probably, at least that's my idea, is that was part of the deal. Is that he talks to Stanton and then he shuts it down.
But what if he couldn't shut it down? What if Stanton could not shut it down and Stanton was on board?
No, Bob shut it down. Like he wouldn't talk more.
Okay, got you. I mean, I kind of get what you're saying, but at the same time, if I was Bob Lazar and I knew my shit, like I knew what I was talking about when it comes to physics and everything like that. People like Weinstein. I mean, Stanton's not around anymore. Rest in peace. But
like if
maybe that same conversation that he had with Joe Rogan at that dinner table, he could have had that with Stanton.
Well, if there's an agreement, and I imagine that if there's an agreement, it would have taken some time. That, like, it wasn't just one day that the government made an agreement with Bob, but it took some months. They were debating and they finalized some kind of contract, and then you would have that contract, and whatever he cannot do, and everything else he can do and he will do. Like Bob probably wants to do everything he can do, but he will not do something that he's not allowed to, because that's the deal, is to keep everything, just to keep the contract, like the keep, so stay in the bounds of the contract, because that's how he can avoid getting in trouble.
I don't know. Yeah, but at the same time, I don't understand how you can't get in any more trouble. You know, if you
No,
just
but he's not in any trouble right now, and he hasn't been for a long while. Right, he hasn't been in any trouble since 1990. In any trouble, essentially. I mean, there are some, they raid his workplace, but that's not real trouble. What I would so he wouldn't lie or do something drastic just because he got raided once in 10 years.
Explain to me and the audience, and I don't know if Lee, do you get this? How would he get in any more trouble?
Bob.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, do you get it as well? Because I'm trying to fathom how he would get in any more trouble.
Well, it depends if he knows more. That's the thing. If he has
but how would he get into more trouble by speaking to people, like if he'd have spoken to Stanton? If he speaks to Weinstein,
if it's a breach of contract. If it's a breach of contract, then they can continue between Bob and the government. Like if they finalized some kind of deal in 1990, let's say, which had, so that Bob wouldn't show his master's degrees, he wouldn't talk about his teachers, he wouldn't talk about the students he knew, he wouldn't give up element 115, right? If there's that kind of contract between him and the government, then he needs to abide by that contract. And if he doesn't, then what happened before 1990, which is the psychological torture, like people messing with him constantly, then that would come back probably. And there are other ways to, like when you have that much authority where you call a policeman and you can just, go home, right? You can just tell the policeman to go home and not bother because we are doing something at this guy's house, and we have a badge that says that you cannot interfere with us. If you have that kind of power, you can do a lot of things to a person, and I think that's what he would want to avoid.
It's interesting that he's never spoke about being under some sort of non-disclosure agreement, though. I don't know what.
For sure, he cannot say that he has he cannot say that he's a sellout. I would say I don't think that he said the only contract he spoke about was, which might be true, might be false, but he said that he had contracts with MIT and Caltech.
See, that's the sort of thing that's really weird for me with him, because if you go and work on like top secret stuff, you're going to have to sign non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah, but that's the one. So that one, the prior ones, he did talk about, and he did break those already. But I think that's like a different. Like once you break it, it's like irrelevant. Like you have to make a new contract.
Yeah, but there's pretty severe ramifications if you break a non-disclosure agreement, and that's just in general, like general day-to-day stuff. Like the, I once had to do a visit to the Mercedes Formula One factory in the off season when they were building the 2018 car, I think it would have been, and I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement before I was allowed for the tour around the factory, in case I saw something I didn't see and ran off to Ferrari or McLaren or something like that. And that's sport. So can you imagine how tight the security would be? I mean, even down to like I was allowed to go into the factory with my mobile phone. I had to have all of the cameras, including the selfie camera and the depth camera on my
Covered up.
iPhone, covered up with stickers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, NDAs are pretty serious if you can enforce them. But if you cannot enforce them, then it's it's based on trust and who has the bigger stick.
There's a thing going round at the minute is Lazar to Congress. Oh, there we go, Jennifer.
Yeah, that cannot happen. I checked. This is the thing. As long as they are talking about UAPs and Lazar knows where they are from, they are not the same thing. It's not unidentified. If it's identified, it's not unidentified. I checked the definition of unidentified area phenomena, and it does what Lazar saw doesn't qualify. And
so Jennifer's saying here that element 115 had been discovered before Lazar.
And no, what happened is it was predicted before Lazar. There was a 6-page article in Scientific American, I think, and there's like a sentence in it, and in the sentence, it's got super heavy elements, I think, the article, and there's one sentence about 115.
So this is what we were discussing earlier when I said that if Lazar switched on to this, let's just say let's just say for argument's sake he made all this story up. He could have quite easily predicted element 115 though.
Yeah, but he never claimed that that proves his point. Jeremy Corbell might have said something along those lines, but Bob Lazar never said. Bob Lazar said there was a 50-50 chance that he was correct.
What did you make of Jeremy Corbell and the work that he's done with Lazar?
I mean, I think for what he's doing, I think he's perfect. You don't want... He's friendly, people trust him. I mean, trust him with information, not necessarily with expertise. But generally, I would say, you don't want an Einstein to do this stuff because he might see and find stuff that you don't want. I don't know how much he knows. I don't know how much
he knows quite a lot.
I have seen the logs. I have seen the videos. We have attempted shoot downs of UAPs on a regular basis. We're talking as recently as last Friday.
So he does know quite a bit.
He claims to know, but I'm talking about Lazar.
Yeah.
How does he know where he went for the undergraduate years after Pierce, and so between Pierce and Caltech? Does he know that? For example, that would be one question. Does he know the name of the classmates he had there? Did he contact any of them? Does he have the same names as I have, right?
I would have thought that Corbell's done some extensive work when it comes to the Lazar case. I would hope so. Anyway,
No.
I mean, be surprised if he hasn't.
It's also how much Bob, because Bob could have. So Bob can give him students, but he can give him students from Caltech, right? Which is different, or MIT, or probably not MIT, but he might give some people from Caltech, and that's again different. At least for me, because I'm more interested before Caltech, because he was at Caltech allegedly for 1 year, and that's not a. It wouldn't even matter if you find something. I mean, how many people would remember? Plus, it was a master's degree, so. If
somebody finds just one friend that that went to college with Bob or whatever, That would speak volumes.
Game changer.
Just one.
Especially if it was like one friend that could produce photographs of them, you know, when they were there, you know, maybe at a party, something like that. Had some stories, you know, just normal college everyday stories.
Something.
Yeah, that's why it's interesting that you have this gap between Pierce and Caltech. Like you have these 2 years missing between the two schools for the not even 2 years. It's actually 3 years. You have 3 years missing, and nobody ever said anything about those 3 years ever, which makes me believe that the reason might be is because there's something there that you can find that you are not supposed to find. I don't know what it is, but you know, we might find it at one point.
Well, mate, I wish you the best of luck with this documentary. I hope it goes down a treat. It is in the description. I hope everybody goes and checks it out. You spent some time on it, mate. Spent some time on it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I did, especially editing.
Yeah.
I take it by the way you talked before, you work on a second part for it as well.
Yeah, everything. So everything else, every objection that's not in this video will be in the second part. Everything regarding his marriage, regarding the brothel, everything else will be in the second part.
So if people put stuff in the comments and ask you, can you look into this?
Yeah, if you have something that you want answered, feel free to put a comment anywhere where I can find it.
Awesome. Well, you're more than welcome to come on when the next video is ready to go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're also welcome to invite me back whenever you feel like it.
Yeah, awesome.
You know, there are not many people here who care about this stuff, as I said before.
Yeah, it's well, it's a bit like that, isn't it? With even though there's more of it in the UK, it's not like you can just walk in somewhere and speak to people about this sort of stuff. It's you're still definitely tarred with the wackadoodle brush as soon as you do.
Have you heard the good news? Jesus was an alien.
I tell you what, I'd like to see weaponized. I mean, you've got something unique that you're not in England and you're not in the United States. So I don't know exactly the location. So and I don't want you to dox yourself. But it would be great to do. Did you say it's east of Europe kind of area? Yeah. If you would look into the whole UFO thing around there. Because the thing is, with Americans and people from the UK, is we hear rumors about other places, but it's hard for us to actually get, that boots on the ground thing. If you're in that area, there's a whole, you may be sat on something that would be of great interest to people in ufology. If you're going to get into this field and you're starting with Lazar, I would look at home, because if these things are real and they're in our skies, they're not just over America and the UK,
Well, who knows?
Everywhere.
They might really like English food or something, or the accent. But yeah, if I see something, I might look into it. But here's the thing: from my point of view, even if you find a UFO and you take a great picture or a great video, it probably wouldn't matter. That's how I see it. For me, it wouldn't matter, because here you have an object that can fly faster than the speed of light, and you can decide what you're going to do with it. Are you going to shoot it or talk about it? And that's pretty much the extent. those are your choices.
Yeah, don't shoot it, people.
No. Either way, I mean these stories are. It's easy to get like pretty nihilistic when it comes to speaking about stuff which goes against the norm, but realistically, it's what makes things interesting. You know, it's mysteries like Bob Lazar and anything that even when people talk about rumors of Atlantis and stuff like that, regardless of how much credibility some of these things do, some of these things have, it's just interesting to talk about them. And I think even for people in the chat, 'cause I know there's people in the chat that don't necessarily like believe Bob Lazar, but there is merit in like having these sort of thought experiments and talk about this stuff, because even if Lazar talks 100% nonsense, but the fact that you're on this channel suggests that you believe in UFOs. If you're in the chat, you believe in UFOs. You might believe in aliens. You might believe that they come from the center of the earth. But the top and bottom of it is that Lazar has brought more eyes onto the subject, and Jeremy Corbell's brought more eyes onto the subject, and Rogan has done like a multitude of goods to get people to take this sort of stuff seriously. So we should all at least accept that it's fun. It's fun talking about this stuff.
I agree 100%. It is fun.
Absolutely. Here. I'll drink to that.
Yeah. Thanks very much, guys. I look forward to the next episode of our show. Ollie, you're not with me next Friday, are you?
I'm not with you next Friday, but before we do go, we'll plug the doc. The doc is in the description, people.
Yeah.
Weaponize ASD. It's not your first video, because I've seen you've deleted videos, because I've seen your views.
Yeah, that was just an overview of the story. There was nothing in
No, but you've had other videos up before, but they've all been deleted.
No, there was on this channel, there was only one.
Oh, there was only one. Oh, okay. I looked at the views, and it's like 700 views, so there was something there before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, go check out the documentary.
Something top secret. Yeah. It is in the description, people. And it's going to be live straight after the show.
Yep, I will do it now. So thanks for having me, and
no problem.
No worries, mate. You get yourself to bed. I know it's late where you are. We appreciate you coming on.
See you later, buddy. Bye.
Bye.
There we go.
What a nice guy. What a nice guy.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, lovely guy. I mean, the thing is as well, when it comes to people believing in Bob Lazar and people not believing in Bob Lazar, we've been into Bob Lazar for quite some time, and never quite made his mind up.
I mean, I was a kid when I saw that. I was a kid when I saw the interview, like the interview with Dennis, and now obviously when I saw it, it was a few years after it had happened. So you could argue that he might have been my first sort of interaction with this sort of stuff. It was definitely around the X-Files time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like all these things, isn't it? Like great mysteries are difficult to get rid of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this won't be the last show on Lazar.
No, absolutely.
I definitely want to get Jeremy on to do a full thing on Lazar.
I'd like that
when he's free. It was kind of last minute me asking him to come on. But I thought it would be because let's face it, me and you don't know all the cogs when it comes to the case. We just don't. We're just interested in it. I would say down the line, I've fallen off the Lazar train and gone into the corner where it's like, I don't know if I believe Lazar anymore. I want to, though. I do want to.
I do. Well, look, we're gonna get more Lazar, because I guarantee as much as I can guarantee something, this Logan Paul thing with Lazar, well, Logan Paul will look at we'll
That
get
will
Bob Lazar,
revitalize it. 100%.
that will look at something. Again, I can't. Everything seems to be dripping along so perfectly. I still can't look away from the fact that I think all this might be planned for some sort of nefarious purpose. What that purpose is, I haven't got a clue. But I constantly say to people since the end of 2019, for various reasons, it's like we've been living in a fucking sci-fi movie.
Absolutely.
So,
But,
at least,
yeah,
and if we are walking towards the end of days, at least it's interesting and there's plenty of content.
Speaking of plenty of content, so you're running the Friday and the Sunday next week. While I'm out of the picture, so
Yeah,
you're not going to get any ginger-bearded warrior here, but you're going to get the ginger-bearded lover.
Yeah, we need to talk about that. The hopefully my man lover Dave will be able to make the Sunday show as normal, and we will sort some equally, trying equally as handsome. Dave's a pretty handsome man.
I might text. I might want to speak to. I would be jealous because literally, Graham Hancock's gardener. It sounds so bizarre. Contacted me the other day.
Yeah.
You've seen the email, Lee.
Yes, I have.
Genuinely think that's James Graham Hancock's gardener. I've seen his YouTube channel. It's very garden-esque. But he's really into the whole Nazi UFO theory thing as well. So I said, listen, never mind, Graham. I appreciate you. If you can get Graham Hancock on the show, that would be amazing. But I want to talk some Nazi UFOs.
Yeah, I mean the Nazi UFO thing has always been a story that won't go away. I've always been of the opinion that if the Nazis have had UFO technology, we'd probably be talking German. So that goes against the Nazi UFO technology. I do hope, though, if he's looked into this stuff, he's also looked into the fact they went looking for the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail and stuff like that. Like I find the idea that they to be so wrapped up in the war effort, but yet so soaked in like esoteric, like I'm going to say mumbo jumbo, and I don't necessarily think it's mumbo jumbo. I just don't have the words to articulate what I'm trying to say. Like I find that fascinating. Isn't it crazy how we have all this information about Nazis being into the occult, and the I think Himmler had was only discovered like maybe 10 years ago now. It probably is 10 years ago because I'm getting old. But there was a secret room in Himmler's office. When they looked at the plans, they realized that one of the rooms, that his office room, was too small. And like it was like, hang on, this room is bigger. They knocked down the room with the wall, which was the fake wall, and they found the largest private occult book collection ever discovered. Ever, nobody has had a larger collection of occult books than Himmler. Now, isn't it strange that it's just the Nazis? It's just the Nazis that we're looking into all this occult stuff. How come there's never stories of like the British Army sending a team off to try and find the Ark of the Covenant? You know, I find it like fascinating. So hopefully, if he's gone down the Nazi UFO train, then he's also gone down. You know, he's found that carriage as well, because I think it's great. Not Nazis.
Should we what about get him on in a couple of weeks or something?
I thought you were going to say now. Well, hang on a second, mate.
Oh no, not now.
Already gone 2 hours. It's Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday. Great show, Lee.
Awesome.
Yeah, good show. Thanks, Ollie. Thanks, Weaponized ASD.
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 Link is in the description for the doc.
I was going to say ASL, and then remembered that's American 90s internet, isn't it? So, yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Keep doing stuff. Smash the like button. Become channel members. Chuck us a super chat now just to say thanks. I'll give you like 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Somebody do it. If somebody did it, I would be so happy.
You'll get naked.
I wouldn't get naked because our channel would get shut down. But I'd be
You
happy.
could just take your pants off.
No. Who says
No
I'm
one,
wearing
no one, no.
Well, yeah, I'd have to stand up. That's not how pants work, Ollie.
Oh, I've just thought pants in America's different, isn't it?
No, well, kind of. They're still pants, aren't they?
That they call underwear pants.
Yeah, but you still get trousers are still pants as well. I think it's very much a swappable word. You know,
It's vaguely.
Yeah, get in, Mr. Squatch.
Mr. Squatch.
Yeah, I think
I'll give you a nipple.
Pants is a very much a swappable thing, much like your mother and your town.
Plutonium or
Look,
uranium.
it is, in my opinion, not interesting. I don't intend to answer it. If you ask me that question on camera, I will shut up. I will sit silent. You're not going to get an answer out of me on that.
Okay. And if I ask you on camera if you know Bob Lazar, can you just say no?
I will sit silently.
Nipples.